Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up as we welcome a special guest and talk all things Flyers and Phantoms. A show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry, and on this special episode of the show, we are joined by writer for the Phantoms, Sam Wismer. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. I'm your host, Lance Green, and my buddy Steel is with me as well. But Steel, I think we got somebody with us this week. Who is that?
I don't know, man. I do think we might have somebody riding along shotgun with us here. I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and I think we have Sam, right? Right, we got Sam Wismer, the sports writer for the Phantoms from FlyersNittyGritty.com, is hopping along for the show. How you doing, Sam?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, man, we are doing great, and we're going to talk about some Phantoms, and we're going to talk about some Flyers hockey. Are you ready?
Let's go. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
All right, because I know Lance is ready, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. First of all, let's say this. Congratulations on making Bleacher Reports for the 21st week in a row. Wow. Big salute to FlyersNittyGritty.com and Jamie Bascow for all your help and support, man. Really appreciate all that. Can't say enough. Can't say thank you enough for that. It seems like every time we put a show out here, we get to be on Bleacher Reports. So we would also like to thank our sponsor, Canine Country Club Resorts. They take care of all your pets' needs, from daycare to spa treatments and even pool time. Check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com. Also, I'd like to take a shout out here for a little minute. I know we're kind of going a little bit off script here, but we had a little bit of an issue with a good friend of mine, a very big, huge Flyers fan, and was constantly on the phone with this friend of mine's husband, and he played pickup hockey, and unfortunately he had a heart attack and passed. And he left his family. He has 3 children. All of the children are under the age of 12. They do have a GoFundMe page. Vince Mack family in South Central Pennsylvania. Vince was a lifelong Flyers fan, and there's a GoFundMe page set up. Please, give from the heart. These folks could really use your help. He was their, support and everything like that. And they're going to do a pickup hockey game for him at the end of April. And it's a 3-on-3, and they're going to do that's going to be a charity event as well too. The GoFundMe page is www.gofundme.com/f/relief for the Vince VINCE Mac MAK family. Really appreciate you guys donating to that, and thank you very much for that. On this episode of the show of the Hockey Writers Inc., we'd like to welcome Sam Wismer. She is a writer, photographer covering the Lehigh Valley Phantoms for the Flyers Nitty Gritty. Lance and I both very much like your work and all the great coverage of the Phantoms this season, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How can we follow you? Where can we get all your great stuff? Where can we get your articles? And how can we get to follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Samantha Wismer. And yeah, I'm really responsive on Twitter. Getting me on Instagram is kind of difficult, so.
Okay, cool. No problem. Well, thank you very much for hopping on the show here. This is kind of like we're getting into the youngsters here. We're getting into the kids. We're getting into the young guys on the team, and that brings us to fond thoughts of the Phantoms and just what the Phantoms have been able to do this year. And I'll tell you what, in your article that you wrote, Sam, about a certain particular first-round draft pick.
Mr. Forrester.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what sparked you to write that article?
Watching him in action, just his play blew me away. He's great in the face-off circles. He's always looking for the next move to make. He's always looking at his opponents and seeing like where his teammates are to see where he can shoot. I mean, the kid is just literally putting pucks in the net like it's nothing to him. And I'm impressed with this entire team this year, from him to Tanner Lazinski to Wade Allison to Zade Wisdom. The entire team is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. What do you think there, Lance?
Yeah, I definitely think it's that second group that's coming. Obviously, we went through a big period where we had a lot of guys come up, mostly defense, but with Sanheim and Myers and all these kids that came up at that same time, and this is that next group that's coming in, this next wave, if you will. And Forrester wouldn't even really be here if it wasn't for COVID. We got to think about that. He would probably go back to juniors because he was just 18, turned 19 years old now, I believe, but he would still be in juniors right now. So he has had that opportunity to step in here and with the Phantoms, and he's settled in very nicely. The first couple of games, he looked a little rough, looked a little out of sorts, probably a little culture shock for him. But he's definitely warmed up nicely and settled right in, and he looks right at home for sure. I kind of see him more as a wing at the next level, though. I think that the team does have a lot of centermen already, and now with signing Scott Lawton back, that's just bringing back one more. So I do like his flexibility, both on the wing and at center. For the next level, but I don't think they have to rush him here. I really don't. I think he should finish out the season, maybe get a game or two this season, but I would say a guy like Wade Allison and Tanner Lazinski obviously are going to take up because they're a little bit older in their early 20s as opposed to just 19.
Yeah.
I can definitely agree with Lance on that. The younger they are, I feel like the more development they need. While you have Wade Allison and Tanner Lazinski, who are both in the lineup, Tanner doesn't need the development. Tanner has already had the development, and he's there developmentally. So is Wade Allison. And when Wade Allison is healthy like he is right now, he is unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too, with the handful of Phantoms games that I've been able to lay my eyes on, and following the coverage that FlyersNittyGritty.com and Sammy, you've been able to provide. I've been able to catch quite a lot of the Phantoms games, actually, or quite a few of them actually, and been able to be saying that I'm impressed with the batch of next up and coming wave here, as Lance so definitely put it. I like the shoot first mentality of Forster. Okay, that's a few and far between that the Flyers do not have right now. Okay, and I think that's going to translate. And I do agree with you, Lance. So I think maybe making him more of a winger might be a good idea because he does have that size, but then he also has that flexibility where he can take those face-offs. You know what I mean? And be that guy that can take a face-off and, be like the Sean Couturier, where he doesn't necessarily he's not the face-off king, but he can do it, and capable of winning those face-offs. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I think you got Wade Allison's playing his first game, I believe, with the Flyers tonight, and Lazinski's been up there for 4 games already and looks sharp. Hasn't put up any points as of yet, but he is playing rather well. And the team is happy with him. So both those guys are going to be wingers already. You just got one of the Cates is signed and now going to take their spot probably with the Phantoms. So it just keeps coming. This group of young talent just keeps coming, and it's going to look good here in the future. Obviously, the Flyers right now are a little rough and tough to watch at times this season, but this is when it's going to get exciting for me. I love seeing young talent come into the fold, and we can't be that happy with the team right now as it stands, but we can maybe get a little glance at some of the guys coming up the pike here. So let's see what Wade Allison can do. I believe, like Sam said, he's pretty strong on the puck, and he is a battler. And if he can just stay healthy, he could probably help for sure with the Flyers rather quickly. I think even more than Tanner. In that aspect of putting pucks in the net. And then, of course, you got Forrester coming up, and in the next couple of years, he is that shot first mentality guy. And that's what we've been screaming, Steel, on this show for a long time, is the Flyers don't have that in the lineup right now. Yeah. So it's going to be a breath of fresh air for sure when Tyson can get up to the big leagues. But with these two guys, and possibly Noah signing, he's debating about it. Noah Cates is debating about joining his brother now with the Flyers and foregoing his senior season. So that's another big body winger that is in his early 20s and has championship caliber experience in the NCAA to bring forth to the team. So we don't have to wait for these guys any longer. They're ready. They're ready now.
Yeah. And just, coming from my perspective where I watch the Phantoms and, obviously I write about them. I have a passion. I like watching the guys develop. And when they get up to the big league and, they make their first goal, I just feel like a proud mama bear. I love watching it. I cannot wait for Tanner to make his first NHL goal because I am going to scream so loud because I love Tanner.
Oh, that's awesome.
But just like Lance said, the amount of talent we have coming up the pike and just waiting just to shoot through is just, if I can use this word, disgusting. Because when these guys get to the Flyers, there's no saying what we're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
I think we're going to shock the hockey world when we get these guys there.
Now, here's going to be the thing that's going to probably be the hardest is as the fans are going to have to wait for this. See, I mean, even as Lance gets to go and cover Flyers games, as Sam, you get to go and cover Phantoms games, and I get to sit back and kind of analyze and, kind of be a voice on things and say, we've all watched a lot of hockey, especially this year with the complete, all the different levels of the Flyers system. And we've all watched a lot of hockey. Okay. And I want to pose this question to you, Sam. If you were suddenly slipped into the general manager position tomorrow morning, what would be the first thing that you would do as the general manager of this team tomorrow morning? I mean, aside from get a cup of coffee and maybe get a cheesesteak at Jim's or something, aside from that.
Oh, man. I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest. There's just so many things that we're struggling with right now. Everybody wants to blame the goalies. Can the goalies be at fault? Absolutely. But can we fully put 100% of the blame on the goalies? Absolutely not. We can't blame Carter Hart. We can't blame Brian Elliott. It's the defense.
Thank you. Yeah. You're preaching to the choir here, Sam. Let me tell you. You're preaching to the choir here because I posed this question to Lance last week on the show about what his thoughts were. And he had some really good ideas as far as some of the things that, this team really needs to do. And I really like the idea of the next wave coming up. And as a general manager, I would be thinking of doing that more so than I would be to try to bring other players in. Because if I build from within, then that to me makes a more solid team, in my opinion. Just my opinion alone. Okay, I get it. You're going to need to get free agents to fill in the gaps and to be the glue pieces and whatever the cases you're going to need to be. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I would much rather see the core be drafted instead of being brought in as free agents. Okay. And I believe that the Flyers have a distinct opportunity, like Sammy pointed out, that the Flyers, and you too, Lance, pointed out, that this next wave of players could be that next core for the Flyers that would help propel them to being a contender on a more regular basis. I mean,
yeah, I agree, guys. As far as what I would do, I think it would be a laundry list on the first day. It wouldn't be just one move, for sure. I think you do have to address a top line defenseman. I think you do have to get a right-hand shot defenseman. We have a bevy of different. We talked about the forwards, and we didn't talk about Wisdom yet. But he's right there with these guys too on offense. He's a little bulldog. I love his physicality and everything like that as well. But
I do too.
But we haven't even talked about the defense that's coming up, and that's where I think that we don't have to make such a major move like everybody thinks. But we do need a solid right-hand shot first line defenseman to bring a balance like Niskanen did, like Timonen did, like Mark Streit did, Mike Desjardins did. All those guys, a veteran presence on the blue line to go along with Provorov to calm things down. But the one problem is, though, with a lot of the defense that's coming up, a Wyatt Wiley, a Igor Zumala, a Cam York, Mason Millman.
You said it. You said it, the big name right there, Cam York.
But all those guys are left-hand shots. Besides Wyatt Wiley that can come in and play that right side. But that's the thing. We have a whole lot of loads of left-hand shot defensemen with Sanheim and stuff and Provorov already. So that's going to be the problem there. I think we might need to trade a couple prospects for another right-hand shot defenseman next season.
We do have the stable of those type of players to do so. I mean, even some of the players that are playing right now, like Myers, Sanheim, such like that. I mean, everybody, the fans would not, like to see those guys go away, but they're kind of the same player. So if they go away, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? We've got players that can step into that role and take care of that, and it's not a big deal. We can lose those players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Zumala is a 3.0 of Sanheim and Myers. Really, he's the exact cookie cutter. Offensive defenseman, same size, everything like that. Only a couple of years younger. So, yeah, if we had to lose one, maybe possibly in this expansion draft, now that we might have to protect Scotty Lawton. I don't know technically if we will or not. So that's another name we're going to have to protect, and one less defenseman. So it's going to be difficult for sure. There's a couple of guys in free agency on offense I think we could bring in to kind of bring a little bit more physicality. There's a couple of guys on at the goaltending position that I think we could bring in as well for NHL to kind of move on from Elliott. He is getting up there in age at 35, 36 years old now. So there's a lot of decisions this offseason left for Chuck Fletcher, and Chuck Fletcher has already kind of alluded to he did move a couple pieces out at the deadline. I think he did so a little too late. I don't know why he wasted the whole day, for a couple of days messing with Scotty Lawton's contract when he's already said he wanted to come back and love Philadelphia. So I don't know the pressure in getting that deal done per se, but there is some spots open now, and a couple of these young guys might be battling for a raffle spot next season, among others that might be open, since Chuck Fletcher came out and said that he does plan to move some prospects and other pieces to get established pieces to help this team next season.
Sammy, you've been covering the Phantoms now. What would be who would be some players on that team that you would like to make the coaches not want to get rid of?
On the Phantoms or on the
Yeah,
Flyers?
on the Phantoms.
I want to see Wyatt Wiley stay another season.
Okay.
He needs a little bit more development. I love him to death. He's a great player, but he just needs a tad bit more development.
Right.
Tyson needs a little bit more development. He tends to, when the play goes the other way, he tends to get caught up with his skating a little bit. So he needs to definitely work on his footwork a little bit more. I would say Tanner Lazinski, but we already lost him. Zade Wisdom, just because of his age, I mean, yeah, he's there as a player, but I don't think he's quite ready for the NHL yet, even though everybody wants him up there. And I'm like, no, like, he's not ready yet.
No.
And that's the thing. Like, everyone's like, well, let's bring up the kids from the Phantoms. You guys got to realize, if we bring them up too soon, we're going to have to send them back down, and that's going to screw with their development. We cannot slow the development down of these players, or we're not going to get strong players like we need, and we've been needing all season.
Exactly.
I agree with you. I think they got the two people up there now that can handle it. Like we said, Wade is a little older than the crop, and so is Tanner. They've been in collegiate level. They've been playing against men for quite a few years now, and they can handle that. But my question to you is, because I don't get to see enough Phantom games that I want to, is what is up with Isaac Radcliffe? He is a 50-goal scorer in juniors, and he's 6'6", I believe, and he should be dominating in my mind, at the Phantoms level. And you know, where is this guy?
He was out on injury most of the season.
I get it. He was out on injury for sure, and he's battling back from that. But even last season, I didn't see what I think, you know, I wanted to see per se, but everybody expected out of him.
Everybody expected a lot out of him, and I don't think, you know, how do I say it? He's there. When he's on fire, he's there. I mean, he's a fan favorite at the Phantoms. Like, fans love him there. But I think just with the injury, with COVID, you know, just battling all that, I think it's more of a mental thing with him, and he's got to work on that and get back to where he was.
And this is a guy that I think that the Flyers might be willing to get rid of, sadly, because I think he could right himself in that sense and be dangerous for another team. But I think with the addition of Tyson there and others getting signed now, and especially if Noah Cates comes in, that he's going to be kind of left, you know, struggling in the, you know, to catch up with you know, Tanner and everybody else that's surpassing him already. So I think if that would be one of the names on there that I think might get tossed into the mix as a trade asset. And I think more so than Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost, everybody's high on, of course, and he got injured. But he's came to the NHL and showed spurts where he's been in the right position, and he's been, you know, right at the goal mouth and getting chances, but he's just a little snake bitten. So I think he might get a little longer leash than say Isaac, and possibly Mason Millman. He's there as well. What do you think about him, Sam? What have you seen from him this year?
I think he's good. I think that he could be ready for the NHL with just a little bit more work. You know, and that's what it comes down to, just development. You gotta Mason Millman, or Willman or Millman are we talking about? Because that's Max Willman. Sorry, get these names mixed up.
There's a lot of them. That's what we're talking about here. And Logan Day is down there too. Like there's
Right.
a bevy of
Right. There's
guys
quite a
down
few
there for
mouthfuls
sure.
down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Mason Millman is great. I think with a little bit more development, he can definitely be NHL. If I weren't to protect somebody when it comes to like the expansion draft, I hate saying this, but it would be Connor Bunneman.
I
Well,
could
I
see
think
that.
I don't know. Is he on a rookie deal though? I think he might be in the last year of his rookie deal. I'm not sure. So he might be protected anyway.
Yeah, if they play less than 3 years professionally or with the big club, then they can't be part of the expansion draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're gonna keep diving into this here. We got a lot more stuff to go over here, especially with Sam, our special guest here from FlyersNittyGritty.com. She's the writer for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and then we also got the writer extraordinaire here, Lance Green. We're gonna take a quick little break here, and we're gonna get a word from our sponsor, Greetings. This is SteelFlyers from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. SteelFlyers stands behind this company 100%. Taken care of SteelFlyers furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The SteelFlyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for the people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God. Thank you very much for tuning in there and checking out our sponsors, www.cccresorts.com. They do all your daycare and spa treatments for your pets, anything from pool time to daycare and spa treatments. Check them out, www.cccresorts.com. We're here with Sammy Wismer, the sports writer for Phantoms for FlyersNittyGritty.com for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. We're also here with Lance Green, breaking down the Phantoms and the Flyers and all kinds of fun stuff. We're talking about the kids, and we're talking about all this great talent that is down there on the Phantoms right now. And one of the things that we did talk about was all of the great talent that is on the Phantoms right now this season. And Sammy, I know that Lance was asking you some questions about specific players, but what was it about? What has it been about covering the Phantoms this season that has stood out the most with this team? What about this team has stood out the most for you this season so far?
This season, I just noticed a dramatic difference from last season to this season. It's like night and day. They gel well together. Just last season, it was just Lance. I don't know if you followed them last season, but the Phantoms had a horrific season. It was not a good season. It was very rough right before the pause.
Yeah.
It was just bad. I don't think they gelled well together. They weren't working as a team. And then you come in, you see these kids playing, and it's just like, where is this coming from? But I'm so happy to see it because it's just nice to see, and you can definitely tell like the teamwork is there, and they work as a team, and they're not working as, okay, well, I'm the defenseman, and I'm the forward, and I'm the goalie. Like, it's not there. They work together as a team.
Yeah, I can see that. Last season they struggled. I think, like I said, that group previous to them with Hag and Sanheim and Myers and Moran and all that, all those guys, came up and within the past year or two previous to this, and it really hurt them. They struggled to get some guys back into the system. That next crop of guys that we're seeing now weren't quite ready yet. Some of them weren't even drafted yet. So now we're getting that next crop in there, and they're really taking off. And it's getting to the point where we almost have too many prospects, if that's a possibility. I know some Flyers fans might not understand that, being that previous years all we did is had very little prospects because we traded them all away to gain players before. And we're not really doing that now. Like Steel said, we're trying to develop our own talent, homegrown talent. And that's what some of the most successful teams do. They add pieces to their homegrown talent to build championships, like Tampa Bay is doing. So, that's where I see it. I think the Phantoms will be good for a couple years. Run now with like we said earlier, with some of the younger guys. They're still going to stay down there probably next season at least, and continue to build on to what they're doing. As some of the older guys like Wade and Tanner come up. So
two things I want to say here real quick. One thing is this: because of the COVID, it has allowed last year's draft picks to come onto the Phantoms, and even allowed players like Cam York to come and be part of that as well too. So here's the other point that I want to make as well too, and with the COVID and allowing those players to come up, with Wisdom playing and Forrester playing on the Phantoms, normally you don't see guys that are first round draft picks the year before playing on the AHL team.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Most of those guys are still playing on juniors. So the fact that we're even seeing them at the AHL level, okay, is huge and says a lot about the talent that these kids have. Okay. So now I'm going to pose this question. Do you think right now that if they leave the roster and everything alone, do you think that the Phantoms can make a run for the Calder Cup this year?
I don't think we're having a Calder Cup, but if in pre-COVID world, if we were to have a Calder Cup this year, absolutely.
Okay. So there is no Calder Cup this year?
I don't think so. I don't think the AHL has decided on it yet, but more than likely, if they haven't decided on it by now, I don't think there's going to be one.
Okay.
Interesting. I don't know how they would have a regular season and then
not have a championship.
They're doing what's called the Pennsylvania Cup, and there's literally 3 teams. It's the Phantoms, the Bears, and the Penguins. And whoever has the most points at the end, I think, is thrown up into the air.
That's odd. Okay. But
great.
But they are in first place, I believe, in their division right now. That's how good they're doing. Yeah. And like Sam says, it's really clicking. But I do believe I think that at some point we got to get rid of some prospects here, because there's no room. We're pushing up against the contract levels that we can have booked, and I think a guy like Pascal Labarge, I think might be out the door as well. He's I believe a second round pick and hasn't really been able to develop and all this. And you got to think and remember that Chuck Fletcher was gifted this team. He didn't draft all these guys. He has his own guys that he wants to bring over. And he's had some pretty amazing guys with Elliot Dejournay and stuff still coming probably next season, being able to come to the Phantoms. And he's having a lights out year in juniors. And there's really nowhere for him to come to the Phantoms because there's no roster spots open. So I think he's got to clear some space for the guys that he's drafted more so, and just build a team for the future, I guess, and move on from a couple of these guys from the Hextall era that really haven't developed.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, Sam, because there's been some players that have been very disappointing from the Ron Hextall era. Look, I'm not going to take anything away from what he did. I thought he did a really good job of stocking the cupboards, as it were, for the Flyers and Phantoms and doing that kind of thing and putting some pretty decent prospects and garnering some good draft picks. But I'm liking the players from Chuck Fletcher's draft a little better, because they seem to be not necessarily. I mean, some of the players did kind of fall into that, 5'8", 5'9", 160 pound, 170 pound player. If you ask me and Lance, and we'll tell you that we can't stand players like that. We want to see guys at least 6 foot, 200 pounds. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Because diminutive or not, eventually that's going to either wear on you, or unless you grow into that, or you know what I mean, whatever the case is. So that's why I'm kind of excited about some of the prospects of the draft. You know what I mean? And I know that both of you guys watch a lot of the young players, and we all like watching the prospects, and we all like watching the young kids, and especially the with this year being very odd and very different, with not having the junior leagues to watch, and having more of the college hockey in the United States take more of a foreground in the junior ranks than previously in previous seasons before. So in Lance's latest article, we talked about the draft for the upcoming this season, for the upcoming Flyers this season, and we're on the 3rd round pick here, and this ties in specifically with what we're talking about here, because Tyson Foerster was a 1st round draft pick from last year. You know what I mean? And Wisdom was a 4th round pick, and our recent draft picks are starting to come to the Phantoms, starting to come to the Flyers, starting to, you know what I mean? So, Lance, in this article that you just posted the other day, with our 3rd round pick, the Philadelphia Flyers would like to select Josh Doan from the USHL's Chicago Steel. Posted to FlyersNittyGritty.com. It's all about who the Flyers should select for the third round, and I love it. Okay. In the third round, the Flyers are picking a defenseman. Wait, didn't you just say we have a plethora of defensemen? I get it. He's the son of Shane Doan, but why this guy?
Oh, no, he's not a defenseman. He's a forward. Like
Forward.
Doan.
Okay.
We should have selected a defenseman, probably a right-hand shot, but I don't see any with any value at that level. Again, I think they try to trade away some left-hand shot defensemen already in the system for a little bit older, 22, 23, 24-year-old right-hand shot defenseman to improve the team now. I think they go back to the well that they're pretty good at with all the forwards that Chuck Fletcher has been able to select. And I think they go with Josh Doan in this one, son of Shane Doan, 20-some odd years with Winnipeg and Phoenix system. He was the captain there for umpteen million years, broke every record in that organization.
Yeah.
And, all-star and potentially NHL Hall of Famer for a father. So this kid has been in and around an NHL rink his whole entire life. And there's some really close similarities to his father's game. If you see in the article itself, if you watch some of the videos, it's really plain to see it almost is
Looks
emulating,
like his dad.
almost emulating his shot and everything. He's 19 years old, a little old for the draft, and that's why I think he falls back to the third round. But there's a reason for that. He's 6'2" and 176 pounds. He's from Scottsdale, Arizona, of course, where his dad played for so long. And he's going to be attending Arizona State University, an amazing club that's up and coming very quickly. Within the past 5 to 10 years, they've really taken off and on our elite team in the NCAA right now. Currently, he played the past 2 seasons for the Chicago Steel of the USHL. But his numbers drastically changed this year from the previous, and there's a reason for that. The potential first overall draft pick, Owen Power, played for the Steel. He's a defenseman, but a lot of the offense ran through him. I believe last season, 4 or 5 of his teammates got drafted, okay? Last season, because they were an offensively powerhouse team last season. And that is why the offense didn't really run through him. Last season, he played 45 games. He only scored 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points. He's still a plus player last season with a +8, which is great. We want plus players. We want defensively responsible players because we don't have many of those right now on the Flyers roster. But like I said, this season, those numbers drastically changed for him. With all those people moving on and going further into their hockey careers, it opened up Doan's game here. This season, he's played 50 games so far. He has 27 goals on the year, 38 assists, and 65 total points. That's over a point per game. Over a point per game, okay? And he's a +19. He's seeing time on the power play. He's seeing time on the penalty. He's seeing time everywhere on the ice. The offense is more running through him now, as it should, because he is an electric player to watch. He chases the puck down with ease, and like his dad, he doesn't take a shift off. And I think that's much like we need, and much following the same type player that I suggested with the first-round pick and Zachary Leroux and the second-round pick in Tyler Boucher. Both those guys do not take shifts off. They're intense guys when they are on the ice. And the same being said for Josh Doan as well. Just an amazing player, and I think he should be drafted much higher than this. But the fact that he's 19 as opposed to 18 is going to, affect his draft stock a little bit. But all the more reason to draft him. He's that much more NHL ready, I think. In my mind, I think he could step right onto the Phantoms next season and take the place of some of the guys that are going to be moving up.
Okay. See, that's awesome.
I'm just gonna go call Chuck Fletcher right now and just like tell him you need to draft this kid.
Yeah.
In some of your past articles, and you talked about Tyler Boucher from the U.S. national team too, and Zachary LaRue, and we really like both of those players too. After describing Josh Doan there, Sammy, what players do you think on the Phantoms that he might be able to match up well with as a forward and be able to, like, maybe who would he pair with?
I mean, at his stature, he could really pair well with anybody, to be honest.
Okay.
If I'm gonna be honest, you could pair him with anybody.
Okay.
And I think that's really what's exciting about him. I think he makes everybody around him good, better in a sense, because just like his dad, he's not a puck hog. He's more than willing to pass the puck around, but at the same time, he will let it go when it's given to him in the same aspect. So he's not going to be one of these Drew Voracek guys that just hot potato the puck around the ice on a power play. If you so give him the puck, he is going to shoot it. But if he doesn't have that opportunity, he's not going to waste a shot. He's going to look around the ice and give it to the best person available. Yeah.
And I have to say that the plays that we're seeing on the Phantoms this year, you are not seeing on the Flyers at all. You're seeing like a guy like Ryan Fitzgerald just hook the puck around the goalie's net and shoot it right in. Like, you're not seeing that on the Flyers, let alone in hockey much at all. You're seeing these plays from back in the old days where, we were winning games.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens to a team when you win. Like we look at the Flyers, and last year at this time when, right before the break, and they had won 9 in a row, and they were one of the hottest teams in the NHL. And quite frankly, I think that this team has completely and utterly changed and is not the same team since they've come back from the break. Okay? Even going to the playoffs, going through the bubble, the whole 9 yards, the off season, and then some of the how do we put this nicely, noted mistakes that Fletcher made in the off season by signing some of the players that he did and wasting some of the money that he did. I mean, it's kind of like, this is the boat you're sitting in. You know what I mean? Here's the only thing that's giving me some promise is what's coming up.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but
No.
I think Chuck Fletcher's worst mistake was signing Gus.
She's part of the crew. Hey!
Right. Yeah, I think she's right.
He didn't do anything. Like, I would just sit there and watch him and be like, dude, you have a stick and a puck. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was tough this season for sure. I think Chuck did admit to it that that was just not working out, and that's why he decided to get rid of him. I think he thought that he was going to be able to get rid of Shane Gostisbehere, but he wasn't able to. He didn't have any buyers, so he wanted to bring back a guy that could be that power play catalyst, like Shane used to be, and signs have come back a little bit. I think Shane, to his credit, has, for defensemen, the most goals, is tied right now for the most goals in the entire league. So that's to his credit right now. A lot of people like to dump on Ghost, and I was right there with him when he was at his worst, but he's turned it around a little bit. And I think, yeah. And I think Chuck Fletcher, saw that mistake that he made, and he did correct it and get rid of him. but I want to see what's next. I want to see this offseason because I think he and the team are getting booed on a nightly basis. Sam, I don't know if you've been to, many Flyers games. I think you have. And
I'll be there this Sunday against the Islanders. Oh God.
yeah, rub that in.
Man.
Yeah, rub that in.
I can just see the $170 I spent on tickets going right down the drain.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They've been booing this club. They've been booing Chuck Fletcher, and I think something's going to have to be done about it. You wanted to see it done at the deadline, but not everybody makes a big deadline splashes, I guess. So he's more big moves in the offseason, and I want to see what this offseason is because he's tried what Hextall left him, and it's not really worked. So I want to see what he brings in. I want to see what he does, and if it not that impressive, then I think he knows he's on a short leash.
And I think a lot of people are forgetting 2 words for this year: expansion draft. I know I have. One of the other writers for Flyers Nitty Gritty, Frankie, has been like, Sam, why do you think like Lawton is safe? Why do you think this person's safe? And I'm like, crap, I keep forgetting like expansion draft. And those are the 2 words that are giving me the most anxiety when it comes to hockey.
Exactly. Here's the thing that's going to help the Flyers, I think, though, is this. A lot of our younger players have played less than 3 years and will not be available for the draft. I think that the Flyers are going to have to make some hard decisions in the offseason as to who they're going to protect. Obviously, they're going to have to protect people that have the no movement clauses. That's a foregone conclusion. But one of the things that I think this is the major thing this offseason is Carter Hart. Okay, and I think that if the Flyers do not get Carter Hart right, it's going to affect this team for the next 10 years. If they don't get Carter Hart right,
I think they have to for sure. But I think Carter Hart is obviously that guy. He is that guy. He just needs to be righted. The defense has been horrible. His whole mental focus is being tested and shook right now. I think the offseason is only going to help him to rebuild that. But I think you have to go out and sign somebody that can help next season. More so than Elliott, and I'm kind of working on a piece, got some ideas jotted down on just that. And that's scary that we this soon in the Carter Hart era have to realize that and bring somebody in. But I think it's all reality. If we want to do anything next season, we have to have a backup plan for sure.
Exactly. And Sammy, you were talking about some potentially sneak peek at to some articles that you're coming up with. Maybe you want a little sneak peek on. You see, that's what Lance drops those little hints on us. You know what I mean? So you got any little hints for us?
I was trying to write it before tonight, but with school and everything, I couldn't make it happen, and work and being an adult. My next article is probably going to be highlighting the 4 Phantoms goalies that we currently have, which is Zane McIntyre, who just had a gorgeous little baby girl, him and his wife. So congrats to him and Mallory.
Cool.
And we also have Eamon McAdam, who had an injury, and we had to bring Felix Sandstrom in. So Felix Sandstrom and Kirill Ustimenko, who had a torn hip labrum. So he had surgery and it took him out for the season. So, I have a hip issue. So, Usti, I feel ya.
Yeah, right. I hear you, man. Cool. How about that, man? Look at that, folks. We got two very awesome writers who are going to have some upcoming articles coming out for your reading and wonderful pleasure, man. How about that? Dang, all right. Well, listen, Sam, it's been an absolute wonderful pleasure having you on the show. We really appreciate you joining us. Please tell the folks how we can follow you, where we can get all of your information, and where we can read all those great articles.
You can follow me on Twitter at Samantha Wismer, and all my articles are either on Bleacher Report or FlyersNittyGritty.com. And I've only been with Nitty Gritty for 2 months.
Exactly. So thank you very much for doing this. We really appreciate you jumping on here, and any way we can to give you a voice. This is a Hockey Writers Inc. show about hockey writers. So I mean, you're a hockey writer, so there you go.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lance? We got another good one today, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. It's a great opportunity to have a little spotlight on an up and coming writer. So kudos there. And thanks for coming on with us for sure. Hope to see more articles coming out from you soon enough. And you can always follow me. I'm on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the number's 39. You can catch all my stuff at SteelFlyers.com, FlyersNittyGritty.com, or Bleacher Report.
All right, awesome. There you go, folks. We got Sammy Wismer, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms writer for Flyers Nitty Gritty, and then we got the Philadelphia Flyers writer for FlyersNittyGritty.com, the host of the Hockey Writers Inc., Lance Green. I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. You can follow me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. This is part of the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. You can check it out on the web at www.steelflyers.com. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.
Thanks, guys.